Welcome back. You're watching a special interview with Dr. Fatih Birol, the Chief Economist at the International Energy Agency. Dr. Birol, you've been saying that oil prices will likely return to about $100 a barrel in the next year or two. Would that mean, or would it be fair to infer then that you expect them to stay at this range of $60 to $70 a barrel in the shorter, medium term?
I think when we look at the global oil markets today, there is enough oil in the markets, and the demand is still weak in the course of slow recovery. Therefore, it will be difficult to believe that the oil prices will jump substantially in the very near term. But when we see the impact of the cutting of spending, cutting of investment in future oil production, and if it is coupled, this spending, with a stronger economic growth worldwide, we may well see an upward pressure on the prices.
Okay, I also want to get your sense or assessment of what impact these lower oil prices are having on shale gas projects, which has been the new big source of energy supplies across the world, not just in the US, but also in newer countries like Australia, Argentina, etc., who are pursuing shale gas in a big way.
I think the shale gas projects worldwide are going in full steam. In the United States, the production is continuing to grow. Canada continuing to grow. And many countries, such as Argentina, but also China, is trying to make major efforts in order to make most use of shale gas. I was last week in China. I had meetings with my colleagues in China. I see that they are very keen to replicate the revolution of the United States, of Canada in China, and I can tell you that China has major shale gas resources. If China is able to turn those resources into production, it may well have major implications for the global gas markets, but also with the coal markets, as gas and coal are competing with each other in terms of being a major fuel for the electricity generation, and China being the largest coal country in the world.
So what kind of contribution do you see shale gas having in the long-term energy mix? And I also want to point out an IEA report that said natural gas production is expected to increase by 50% in the next 20 years or so. How would you connect these two and what that means for gas markets?
When we look at before looking at the future, when we look at the recent past, about 70%, the big chunk of the growth in total gas production in the world, 70% came from the shale gas. Not conventional gas, but the shale gas. When we look at the future, we expect this momentum to continue, and about half of a bit higher than half of the growth in the global gas production growth will come from shale gas. US continue to grow, Canada, Argentina, some countries in Europe, Poland, Germany recently gave a green light to shale gas exploration, and also a very important factor here is what will happen in China. So as a result of that, we will think that the shale gas revolution will continue with significant implications on the global energy markets.
In an associated question to that issue, sir, there is now a growing debate in the US to open up or to reduce the restrictions on fuel exports. How do you think that debate will evolve? And if the US does decide to relax these restrictions, what impact will it have on global energy?
I think the United States is in the middle of discussions in terms of the crude exports, natural gas exports, and I believe that we will see a lot of LNG will come from United States. Not immediately, but in a few years of time, which will provide more flexibility to the gas markets. And if we see some crude exports, whatever the level is, it will be also good for the global oil security.
Okay, while we have you with us in India, I want to get your outlook on coal, which is a very important source of energy here in India for us. Coal prices internationally have been at lows over the last couple of years. What is your assessment or outlook on coal?
Coal prices are historically low today because demand is low, and there are two reasons why coal demand is low. First, the general economic growth is rather sluggish, but second and more importantly, more and more countries, big countries, are using less and less coal. In the United States, coal consumption is declining substantially, and China last year, we have seen for the first time Chinese coal consumption declined, mainly because of local pollution. So as a result of lower demand, I expect that the coal prices will be lower in the next few years, and this is of course a very important news for India, as coal is the backbone of the Indian energy system, electricity generation, but it is also very important to use the coal in the power plants in a very efficient manner, thinking of the local pollution implications of coal use.
So we've got lower crude prices, sir, right now. We've got an expected substantial increase in gas production. We've just spoken about how the coal market is getting impacted. How do all of these sort of impact what's going on in the non-conventional energy or renewables market? Will that be hurt substantially by what's going on here?
Of course, the lower oil prices has an implication for the alternative fuels, for renewable energies, for coal, for gas. In terms of renewable energies, in many countries, renewable energies are supported by the governments. For example, when we come to India, I applaud the Indian government's target on the solar energy. I can tell you, I travel around the world, as you very well know. We recently discussed in Davos. When I look at the many countries, Indian solar program gives an inspiration to many countries to make more use of solar energy. For India, to make use of solar energy has two major benefits. One, it will reduce the environmental footprint, especially for local pollution of energy, because it is very clean. And the second, when we look at the in the map of India, we see that today in India there are 300 days where we receive very good quality of sun, the solar energy. It is unparalleled amount of solar energy, and luckily this solar energy is the best in the areas, in the regions in India where we have a problem of access to electricity of significant amount of population. So it's a very good coincidence that the solar energy is there where the people don't have access to electricity. So therefore, I applaud the move of the Modi government for solar energy, but of course we have to be cautious that huge amount of solar energy, what will be the implication of this for the Indian electricity system? As we all know, if there is no sun, if there is no wind, it will have implications for the stability of the electricity system. So some measures need to be taken, and I am sure that my colleagues in the Indian government will take care of that.
All right, sir. Speaking of India, I do want to point out that the IEA's World Energy Outlook for this year, that's 2015, is expected to focus on India in a big way. That is the purpose of your visit here. I want your observations on the many big developments we've seen in the energy business in the recent past. For instance, the coal auctions that took place recently, the resultant reduction in oil-based subsidies because of lower crude prices, the gas pricing debate, which is highly contentious, and also, you know, I think many experts rue the lack of any progress on building strategic reserves. What are your views on all these very important elements of our energy policy?
This year, we are going to make a special report on India, which we call India Energy Outlook, which I am going to release end of November in New Delhi. Why do we work on India this year? Because India is in the middle of a major transformation which can bring the country at the center stage of the global affairs. And I believe the performance, the expansion of the Indian economy critically hinges on whether or not the energy issues are dealt in the right manner. And the recent move of the Modi government to put the energy as top of their policy agenda is a very welcome move. And luckily, there is a wonderful coincidence here. The move from the government coincides very much with the lower oil prices, which gives a very good momentum to these policy reforms. When I look at India, the future of Indian energy system, I see three major factors which will determine whether or not these efforts will be successful. These three factors are investment, investment, and again investment. So whether or not India will be able to mobilize the investment for the energy infrastructure will be of crucial importance, and our report, with the help of the Indian government, Indian industry, and other colleagues in India, will shed light on the investment issue as well as other issues, the coal markets, oil markets, the security of oil, and the environmental issues, including local pollution. As I said, I am going to release the report at the end of November in New Delhi to our Indian colleagues.
Now, Dr. Birol, one final question then. You said investment, investment, investment. How much investment does India need, according to you, for its energy sector?
India has to invest each year about 100 billion US dollar, and to mobilize this 100 billion US dollar will be of a challenge. It will be as a result of public funds, but there is a need to growing contribution from the private sector.
All right, we'll be eagerly awaiting that IEA report in November. Dr. Birol, thank you very much for joining us here on this special show on CNBC TV 18. That was Fatih Birol, the Chief Economist of the International Energy Agency. Thanks very much for watching.